Hey everyone, exciting news today. Just in, we've got some significant developments surrounding Trump's relief plan and immigration policy. This has officially passed through the House of Representatives by a just single vote. In today's video, we're going to dive into what this bill actually entails and what it means for the American people moving forward. The good news? If you were hoping for this bill to pass, it seems like things are moving quickly. Speaker Mike Johnson has set a goal to get this bill signed by July 4th, putting us about a month ahead of schedule. Of course, it still has to clear the Senate, but reports are indicating that's likely to be a formality. Let's break it all down. But before we jump into the details, I kindly ask you to hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. It takes just 2 seconds and really helps us out. Now let's get started. Alright, so let's get into the update. The headline reads, Republican-led House passes Trump agenda bill by a single vote. This is a huge moment that we'll unpack together. Speaker Mike Johnson, visibly pleased, announced that the bill passed with a narrow margin of 215 to 214 and was met with applause in the chamber. He had aimed to get this bill done before Memorial Day to avoid a lengthy recess, and now here we are. But keep in mind, not everything in this bill will impact us immediately. For instance, this bill extends the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that many may not have realized was at risk. Now the July 4th deadline? It's actually somewhat arbitrary. It's not like failure to pass it by then means we lose benefits. In fact, proponents of this bill argue we might see some benefits reduced even earlier. More on that in a bit. Next up, let's spotlight some highlights of this sweeping domestic policy package. After some negotiations, Trump met with several lawmakers at the White House, managing to bring some holdouts on board with his agenda. Still, there are concerns about potential pushback in the Senate. Trump is just hoping that dissent won't be enough to derail the bill. Dubbed the Big Beautiful Bill by Trump himself, this legislation extends the expiring tax cuts from 2017 and infuses additional funds aimed at expanding the military. Additionally, it pushes forward with plans for mass deportation, a significant priority for the Trump administration. A key issue slowing down those deportations has been funding. This new bill could change that. One concerning aspect was the proposed self-deportation incentive, where individuals might receive money to leave the country. Many have questioned where that funding would come from, leading to uncertainty over whether people would actually benefit from it. The bill also includes two of Trump's key campaign promises, eliminating taxes on overtime pay and tips. While overtime income will now be tax-exempt, it's important to note that only the overtime portion falls outside taxable income, whereas your regular wages are still taxed at the standard rate. And for tips, if you make less than $160,000 annually, there's a cap of $25,000 on what can be tax-exempt. Definitely a win for many workers out there. However, it also spells out some significant cuts in other areas, including hundreds of billions targeted for Medicaid and nutrition assistance programs. It even raises the debt ceiling by an alarming $4 trillion, which has triggered concern among economists and investors alike, contributing to tremors in the stock market. Let's take a closer look at some of those cuts. House Republicans intend to reduce spending on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, by about $267 billion over the next decade. States will face increased costs as they'll be required to cover a portion of benefit expenses starting in fiscal year 2028, which has many parents and older Americans worried. They are also tightening work requirements for food assistance, increasing the limit from age 54 to age 64 for able-bodied adults without dependents. Until they meet this requirement, those adults will need to find work or fulfill community service to remain eligible for assistance. But perhaps one of the most contentious changes is the introduction of a new work requirement for Medicaid eligibility. Starting January 1, 2029, after Trump's tenure, able-bodied adults without dependents will have to complete at least 80 hours of work, education, or community service monthly to qualify for Medicaid. This means individuals will need to re-verify their eligibility for Medicaid twice a year instead of the current once, which many believe will add unnecessary hurdles for vulnerable populations. So what does all of this mean? It looks like the bill is on track to pass. If it faced any delays, they would probably be more likely in the Senate than the House. While some Republican senators have expressed doubts about its approval, it could be a moot point given the small number of dissenters. The big news today is that the House has passed this bill, and it now heads to the Senate where we expect them to act swiftly. Speaker Johnson and President Trump are both keen on getting this done as soon as possible, and with the self-imposed deadline around July 4th, we'll keep an eye out. As more information unfolds, you can count on me to keep you updated with the latest news and insights. Thanks for tuning in today. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing and I'll see you in the next one.